blocked my freedom of movement. They have put me in jail on the night before I am going to be trained to work at a place that would pay a lot of money. They have blocked my ability to get employment, to travel, and they tortured me and my son. I'm not exaggerating the fact that we've been tortured. I don't know how any citizen of the United States can accept this. I know that the United States has also worked with United Kingdom individuals and Canadian individuals who accept the idea of torturing people. I don't think anyone who is decent would work with these kinds of groups. And after all of my years of working as hard as I have at trying to get help for my son and being believed and trying to be actually freed from complete and total oppression in the United States, I have to ask if there's anyone in any group that is putting their money, if they have money, to good use. Because if no one is able to take up a cause like this, where I am being tortured, and my son has been tortured, it's an actual literal torture case in the United States, and nobody is willing. I'm trying to be the most publicly noticed or outspoken person that I can be about this, and yet nobody is going to help me or my son. Why is it that I have scoured the entire United States and there is no one? I mean, there are plenty of people there are some people that are poor or don't have as much money that would like to help if they could. And I'm just starting to figure out that the government keeps those people poor. The only people that seem to be making money or getting rich are the corrupt ones. After what happened to me by Shannon Borg and basically the Seattle FBI and Canada and Wenatchee collusion, I was then in a bar again because I spent all of this time, I went on that tangent talking about all the time that I've spent trying to get help for me and my son. I was in a bar. Most of the time I've been in bars is because they have Wi-Fi at hours that most restaurants aren't open, because I've been in smaller towns and it's not like a big city where you could just go to a coffee shop that might be a 24-hour coffee shop with Wi-Fi. We don't have that in smaller towns. So I was at a bar and had no place to go. Basically had just been set up for grand auto theft, and then who comes in and asks me if I need a place to stay? Another United States military person who just happens to show up. You know, anytime I'm being kicked out of someplace or tossed around or thrown out by the government, you know, it's like they plan their timeline for me. It's really like they've been doing that. They have this thing set up, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and then they put up these huge guardrails that are only a half a foot away from me on either side of my body, and then they make sure that there is no possible way for me to step aside from what they want me, what next trap they want me to fall into. I basically had to take, this person said I could stay at the house with a couple of other guys, and it wasn't romantic at all. I wasn't interested in this person at all. He just said that I could stay there. So I did for about a month or so. But then he was going through all my personal belongings, and then I found out he was sharing them with police, with Wenatchee police. And after 3 months had gone by, when I had not called my, well, I mean, I had talked to my ex-fiance, but I had not asked him to move back to Wenatchee. He was asking me to move to Washington, D.C., and then fly back and forth from there. He was saying he could pay for that. I said, you can't pay for all these different things, but how can you pay for the airfare to just fly me back and forth from, from Wenatchee to from Wenatchee, Washington to D.C. all the time? It's because he's working for the government. And basically, if I wasn't going to be with him, then the United States forced me to be with one United States military person after the other. And they tortured me during that time. They used me for research, and they made sure that I did not get any work in the entire town, that I didn't get any housing of my own. And finally, after several months of this, and they started torturing me after I didn't go back to my, after I didn't move out to D.C. again, after 3 months when we had split up, then the United States went back to torturing me full-time, full-blown torture, every day. And I was paid a few visits from people from the U.S. Department of State, even ones that were going to Colombia. They showed up at the coffee place that I went to for Wi-Fi during the day, started talking to me about Colombia and how they were from the U.S. Department of State. Basically, they were just there to check me out, see how I was doing what I was doing. After several months of a month of or so of living with these guys, and not being intimate with any of them. I should mention though, I was with one person, and it was because he invited me over to have a couple glasses of wine. And after I was intoxicated, he wanted to be intimate, and I was intoxicated. And things did happen, and I regretted it. I definitely regretted it later. I believe that he was a police officer because I was later after I was with him, I was being threatened to be silent and into secrecy by the other Wenatchee police officers. And after I was with him and he decided to move to Seattle, Washington. After that, I was tortured. And it has never stopped since then. My son was tortured and brought to visits with all the effects and marks of torture, and basically paraded in front of me to have me suffer and see what was being done to him and to feel helpless about what was done to him. This country did nothing and has done nothing but degrade me. They've degraded my son. They degrade little babies and toddlers and kids. So all this time, the entire time I was looking for work. I went to every single place in the entire area of Wenatchee and East Wenatchee. Not one single person would hire me for anything. Not even for a dishwashing job in the back kitchen. I applied for everything. And then when I applied for every single job that there was available in the town, basically the only job that I was going to be allowed to do was to deal poker cards for Michael Holt's brother's business. And when Michael Holt cheated with my fiance, and she had all of the cops on her side, and when she defamed me in court records claiming that I held a knife against her, she defamed me in a sense that it further damaged my ability to get work. So she is responsible for damages to my ability to have any kind of income, especially in that area, where anybody could look up the complaints she made about me, and everybody knew everybody, and word goes around. The other thing is that because I have microchips implanted in my body, the United States government has always known that I never held a knife up against her. And yet they allowed her, their employee, to lie about me, their guinea pig. So the United States always knew she was lying about me. Couldn't get work in the entire town, so then I decided to try to volunteer. I offered my volunteer services. I mean, this is free help to organizations. I offered my volunteer services to dozens of different businesses and charitable organizations, and I sent them email after email, and nobody in that entire town would even allow me to be a volunteer, because if I was a volunteer, then it looked like I was productive and able to work with people, and that's not what they wanted, because they wanted to take my son away from me, and because there were people who were liable to be sued in that area, and they wanted me to continue looking mentally ill when I wasn't. So I was completely blacklisted in that area.